Welcome back, everyone, to the Frenzy Extra, and I'm joined by the Telegram and Gazette sports editor, assistant sports editor, Home Team Magazine, Jim Wilson. Willie, always a good time when we get in here and kind of talk football and kind of shake things out in Central Mass.
I've been frozen in carbonite since last season.
Han Solo. We got Boba Fett, we got Han Solo out of carbonite, and now we can talk some high school football. 3 huge games this Friday night, beginning with Auburn and Northbridge. How do you see this one going? What do you like?
This is one of those games. I mean, anytime, no matter what the season is, these two teams getting together is going to be, a marquee event. But this year, especially after the way the teams have started the last couple of weeks, I mean, Zach Wright and Kobe Schofer, that's the show. That's what people want to see. One of the best running backs in the state, one of the best quarterbacks in the state going at it. And like we mentioned earlier, it's Oklahoma, Nebraska, circa 1986 going at it. It's going to be a real good, great game. See which one does what they do better.
Yeah, you do. You have that Nebraska pounding style, and then you have the U-Miami style for Northbridge. Let's throw it all over the park. Really inventive on offense, and there's a couple of things that I like. Obviously, if you're Northbridge, everyone, and if you're any team playing Auburn right now, you're keen on Mark Wright. Every one of your linebackers, every one of your safeties is keen on Mark Wright and following him wherever he goes. But if you're trying to defend Northbridge, and you see Tantasco try to do it a week ago, how do you defend this Northbridge team when they can put Schofer in the shotgun and just send 4 guys out, go 4 vertical, 5 vertical? Now everyone's got to turn and run with their receivers, like guys like Chandler Brooks that are so good, and then Schofer can take off and he can gouge you for a 50-yard touchdown run.
Right, and that's what I think that's Auburn's worried about, because like you said, I mean, you look at Auburn and it's Mark Wright. If you can start Mark Wright, which nobody has before,
right? I
mean, that's what the problem is. I mean, but the thing is, they're playing a much better team. I remember, not to take anything away from the start Auburn's had, they faced 3 winless teams. Right. So right then, I mean, that's, Mark Wright's been running like, I said earlier on Twitter, it's like he's playing Madden on rookie. I mean, he is just, 304 yards, 204 yards, 393 yards. I mean, you can't even slow this guy down. Northbridge might have the personnel to do that, and what's Auburn going to do to answer that?
Keenan Quinama, I think, is going to be a key for Northbridge. He's the defensive end. He's the offensive tackle as well. But on the defensive side of the ball, Quinama has quickness. He can get lateral. He can also get upfield. And I think when you're playing a guy like Mark Wright, it's always kind of that contained pressure. You don't want to come too quick up the field because Wright's going to just run right by you. So if you beat your man, you have to kind of settle, break down, and find where Wright is, and then try to keep bringing him back towards the pursuit, because he's one of these guys that if he gets around the edge, he's gone. If he gets around the edge and there's one guy there, he's going to make him miss and he's gone. So you really need team defense. Every coach is going to preach 11 hats to the football. But this week, if you're Northbridge, it's all about containing Mark Wright, bringing him back towards the pursuit, and letting the help get there and bring this guy down, because one guy just can't do it.
Right, and that's the problem. I think Northbridge is going to be tested on this because, like I said, easier said than done. You can diagram it all you want, but get him in the space in that field, he's going to make a lot of people look silly. Conversely, you're looking at Auburn, the bad boys are going to be tested this week because, I mean, if Tantasco can't slow down Kobe Schofer, I mean, if you look at the history of Northbridge football, and they pride themselves on this, Kobe Schofer put up one of the best games in school history. And given the litany of quarterbacks and athletes they've had in that program, that's saying something. When Bill Ballou comes back to me after the game and said he's legitimately impressed about what one athlete did with school records, he rushed for 212 yards, passed for 222, ran for 5 touchdowns, threw for 2 more. That's tough to really contain. Putting that into perspective of what Northbridge has had, that's saying something. So Auburn needs to find a guy that can contain that and his weapons, because he has some guys to throw to. So and that's what the issue is.
And when you look at Auburn too, more importantly, how do you get that kind of look in practice? If you're Auburn, you can't get that look because you don't know, there is no other Kobe Schofer out there. And Auburn's not a passing team. So when they try to do, you have a scout offense trying to mirror Northbridge's offense, it's hard to give your first defense that kind of look, to simulate that look, because number one, it's not your offense. So you don't have guys that are used to playing it. Number two, there is no other Kobe Schofer out there that can run a 4.5 40, can also throw the ball on the run 50 yards on a dime, and his accuracy is uncanny. All right, now before we just get caught up in one game, Shepherd Hill, Leominster. I know. Shepherd Hill, Leominster, another Friday night game. Leominster coming out, they're going to be mad. They're 0-2. They're going to be angry, but they lost to a very good team, one of the top teams in the state a week ago. They lost to one of, if not the top team in Central Mass in week 1 in St. John's. For Shepherd Hill, this is a chance to you talk about a program win. You and I were talking about this earlier today. You would have to go way back in the archives to find a win that is bigger than this for Shepherd Hill and that would resonate around Central Mass as big as this one would if they can beat Leominster.
Because Coach Chris Lindstrom, Big Lindstrom, has been saying, even when they used to start playing Fitchburg, beating Fitchburg, even when Fitchburg was kind of down, they hung their head on that win because it was a huge win for them. It was a statement win for beating an upper division team like that. The Leominster game, because even when Shepherd Hill has had a great team, it's always been, like even the last couple of years, hey, great team, compete with Leominster, but they fall short in that regard. Right. But this is the first time in a while they've had a chance to beat Leominster, and I think that's going to be a huge win for them. If they just for their program, what they've accomplished as a team, what the players have done in the lifting, this has been a couple of years in the making for this game coming up. So I think they're ready for them.
And this is the game too that they're going to preach one game at a time, and they talked all that during the preseason. But in the back of their minds and on their calendar, they had this game circled. And this is why you talk about the lifting and all the work on the sled and all the work in the offseason, the preseason. It was for this game. It was for Week 3 at Leominster under the lights. Chance to make a huge statement in Central Mass and to the state for that matter. And you have a kid in young Chris Lindstrom going to Boston College. Drew-Jean Guillaume's a Division I college prospect. You have the talent. You have some of the earth movers that stack up. Now on the other side of the coin, you now have Week 3 with Dave Palazzi, who has seen his offense under fire now and can make adjustments during the week to play to his team's strength. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see because he's one of the best in the business at making adjustments, playing to his team's strength. How does he adjust this offense and this team from Week 1, Week 2, now to Week 3 in Shepherd Hill?
Because I think, I said it online at hometeam.com earlier, after seeing the St. John's game, what Leominster brought to the table with Noah Gray in his first game under center as a varsity player, I mean, they didn't look like Leominster. They just were, he had trouble throwing on the run. They were lofting a lot of balls up. Receivers were running the wrong routes, and Davon Jones made some picks. That was not the Leominster team we expected to see, but they had returned so much, new players and new positions, especially the skill positions. I figured it will take them a little while. Late October, November, when playoff time comes, they'll be a different team. They come out last week against Lowell, the team that was ranked number 3rd by the Boston Globe. They actually did a really great job keeping up with it. Remember, if they didn't have that pick 6 called back, and that way Lowell doesn't score, and it's a whole new game. Leominster's playing with a lead, and who knows what can happen at that point. They rebounded really fast from that St. John's game. And I don't know if it was because Dave Palazzi and his staff had another week to work with the younger kids and get them, because they were still in spring training mode, so to speak.
Right.
So having that, extra, you get another week to read what's on their wristbands and find out the right reads to make and everything like that. They rebounded really well against Lowell. And they know coming up against Shepherd Hill, they know that, like you said, they've had this game circled on their calendar in Dudley for a while.
Right.
And so they have, this is one of those big, because Shepherd Hill doesn't want to win a Super Bowl in Gillette and say, geez, that was great, but we're 12-1 and that loss in Week 3 we really want back. So to have that, they know they're getting everything they have. So Leominster, I think they're a different team they're going to see this week.
Yeah, this is the game of the decade if you're Shepherd Hill and anyone involved in that program. This is your game of the decade. All right, now moving on to Doherty and Tantascwa. We saw Tantascwa last week against Northbridge. This is a real talented team with Zach Edwards at quarterback and Trevor Robert, just a great athlete, two-way player. Doherty is a team. They got stung week 1 against North Middlesex. They come back. They win last week against a tough Holy Name team with Jakari Carpenter back there. With Vesey at quarterback. There's a lot of talent on that Doherty team. And, it might have taken them 1 week to kind of get snapped to attention, but this is a good football team.
That was probably, I know they want to hear it. That was probably the best thing that can happen to Doherty, coming off a state title win, getting punched in the mouth week 1. And I'm sure the coaches have been saying all season, since they walked off the field on the bus ride home back from Gillette last year, the coaches were probably telling the kids coming back, don't think this is done. Don't think your work is done. You're going to work twice as hard. You're going to lose 2 Division I college athletes to graduation. You have a whole new team next year. You're going to keep working harder. And they come in, they lose a tough game in North Middlesex, and they know they're playing up the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I know the coaches did say that to him. All preseason they preached that to him, but you're dealing with 17-year-old kids, and they think.
And they had a great cup coming up that last week with a nice win over Holy Name, a real tough team no matter what year it is.
Yes.
I think you said Jakari Carpenter is great. Eric Vesey, I think, is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. I said in the preseason, he's a guy that could have started a long time ago, but he was sitting behind Luke Brennan. But every time I talked to the coach the last couple of years, they made it a point to talk about how good Vesey was looking in practice, and how they feel totally comfortable if God forbid something happened to Luke and had to put him into a game. So I think that program is going to be in good hands going forward. And they got a big test against Tantascwa. Zach Edwards, he's been phenomenal this year. He's thrown for 300 yards in 2 straight games. I'm still on their bandwagon. I still had him in the poll this week. I think losing to Northbridge. Edwards, he threw, like I said, threw for 300 yards. If he wasn't across the field from Chauffeur, a lot more people would be talking about him this week as having a phenomenal game.
And this will be something, too, for Doherty. First seeing a true passing team in a wide-open passing team. All right, that's all the time we have. For Jim Wilson and Kevin Shea, more of the Frenzy Extra coming your way right after this.